Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the third episode of story where Naruto's potential is greater than Sasuke Uchiha's, but owing to a life of rejection, he wasn't what was expected, yet beneath every fake smile is a real person who hides out of fear. Watch as Naruto Uzumaki develops into the prodigy he was born to be, as he discovers his ancestors, both his father and the Uzumaki lineage. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. They walked in relative silence. Anko and Ibiki constantly checked back on Naruto, who was being completely silent, his head watching his feet. He had not said a word since he had left the base, he had silently resealed it closed. Anko questioned where he learned Fuu and Jutsu, to which he just shrugged and moved down the cliff face. He didn't say a word as he took in the sight of a destroyed Uzoshiogakure, only a darkening of his expression showed that he was displeased with what he saw. Ibiki had expected this behavior, knowing of how close Naruto and Daisuke were, as Daisuke was Naruto's only link to a lost family, the only proof it was all real. And for that to end due to time restraints, it was painful, especially from someone who had never had a proper family. Anko just assumed Naruto feared the village, though she suspected there was something at the base that made Naruto want to stay. But she knew she couldn't ask what, it would just set Naruto off. His leaf headband was attached to the top of his arm, his black tanto on his lower back. His grandfather had told him to use only one tanto. He had excelled quickly with the Kenjutsu training. His black tight-fitting zip-up t-shirt, his dark pants tucked into his brown knee-high boots, the small knee guards at the tops. Everything was form-fitting, giving Naruto a very sleek look. He had also grown exceptionally taller. He was informed by Daisuke that he was also very tall when he was younger. Naruto looked up at the sky and sighed. His parting with his grandfather had been a sad one. He had spent the whole time crying. But his grandfather also shed a few tears. He had given Naruto advice, and stuff Naruto was told to tell Hiruzen Sarutobi. Naruto had blubbered, and Daisuke had hugged him tightly, saying he didn't mind. Then he was able to finally pass on, see his late wife and daughter, and hopefully meet his son-in-law. Naruto heard a cough and he looked up to see Anko and Ibiki staring forward intently. Anko's hand flicked to her kunai pouch. Ibiki was just tense. If it isn't Anko Mitarashi, Snake Mistress and Ibiki Morino, came a chuckle. Men appeared from all around them, a man with jet black hair walked in front of them. Naruto's eyes flicked to the small alchemic circle that was spinning on each of the other men's chests. "Can you see them?" asked Naruto in a whisper. Anko turned slightly and raised an eyebrow. "The seals on their chests," whispered Naruto. Anko shook her negative. Naruto filed the thought away for later. "Shinto, Leaf Rogue, you have a lot of balls attacking us," said Anko. Naruto watched as Shinto shivered slightly. All the other men were watching him. "Oh, I was just passing by and saw you were escorting this little brat. What's he, a royal? You both been stuck doing dranks or something?" asked Shinto. Ibiki just smirked. "Did you tell your little followers who we were, or do they think we are easy prey?" said Ibiki, a menacing sneer on his face. Naruto felt two of the men moved directly behind him. They were moving carefully. Anko and Ibiki were too focused on Shinto and all the others. "Never fear death, don't be afraid to take life, Naruto. People will not do the same for you," came a whisper of one of his grandfather's lessons. Naruto nodded mentally to himself. He had feared death once before, he was ready for that. What he wasn't sure he was ready for was taking a life, but he knew, he wanted to be Hokage, he shouldn't hesitate. Anko watched from the corner of her eyes as Naruto's hand moved to the hilt of his blade. His eyes flicked to each of them, signaling that he was ready. Ibiki nodded and Shinto frowned. "So the little kid has a sword. All of these guys are Hijinnan," said Shinto. "Liar," said Naruto almost instantly. Shinto raised an eyebrow, and everyone paused and looked at him. "And why would I do that?" asked Shinto, his voice patronizing. Naruto smirked. "They each have a chakra seal, which only allows them to use up to Chunin chakra. They are unlocked by a single seal, which is connected to your right hand," said Naruto. He could see the alchemic circle on Shinto's hand. It seemed to be the only one that was static. Shinto blinked, and as he got a good look at Naruto he felt a smile form on his face. "Uzumaki, hey Ibiki, is this?" But before Shinto could question, Ibiki interrupted. "What if it is?" barked Ibiki. Shinto gave a hearty laugh. "Then that means, you and Hancock in here have to die, and I get the ultimate of ransom prize of the leaf," said Shinto, a nasty sneer on his face. He gave a nod, and the other men flew into action. The two who had moved behind Naruto dashed forward with a jump, both trying to grab him, realizing he was their prize, but as soon as they got into grabbing distance both blinked in shock as they fell right through him. Naruto pulled the blade from its scabbard and in a deadly arc, severed the backs of the men's necks. The blood spurted out viciously, and it had pooled beneath the men, whose once light-filled eyes had dimmed, showing only darkness. Naruto blinked, the warm liquid hit his face, their eyes, the loss of life, the crushing knowledge that he had killed someone. He had mentally prepared for this, but the force of which it hit him, it was crushing. Ibiki and Anko took a quick peek at Naruto and both cursed under their breath. Naruto had frozen, and two people lay dead at his feet. They both moved swiftly, hoping to reach Naruto first, but two of the enemy had managed to wrap their arms around him, and with a cloud of smoke they were gone. "Where have you taken him?" growled Anko. Shinto smirked and walked backwards, his hands in his pockets. "Someplace safe, an Uzumaki creating our seals, we will rise to power all right. See you around," said Shinto with a smirk as he too disappeared in a cloud of smoke. "Fuck me," yelled Anko in anger. Ibiki just scowled and looked at the two dead bodies. "The first kill is always the hardest," said Ibiki. Anko's glare softened, she sighed and rubbed a hand through her hair, a scowl on her face. "They masked their chakra, must have been a sensor ninja," said Anko. Ibiki nodded. "They must have been far enough to mask them, and for us not to sense it," said Ibiki. Anko sighed and knelt down next to the fallen men. She turned one over, smirking at the effectiveness of the cut. She peeled open his shirt and scowled. A single seal array was on his chest. "The little fucker was right, he could see these," Ibiki said. Anko. Ibiki nodded and went to the other man. "The trait of the Rinnegan, I suppose," said Ibiki simply. Anko nodded and caught his eye flick to the trees, and Anko gave a brief nod. The leaves rustled slightly, and Anko moved with a blur, a kunai leaving her delicate fingers. They heard a brief cry and Ibiki landed on the man trying to run away. Ibiki stood on the man's hand, crushing it viciously. "Don't get ahead of yourself, me and Ibiki here are just going to ask some questions," whispered Anko into the man's ear. The man winced as he felt a kunai pierce his back. Naruto blinked as he found himself in a cell. A group of men were toasting in front of his cell. "Hey, let me out," yelled Naruto. His arm went to his blade, only to find it missing. Now, don't yell Uzumaki-kun, or I will have to starve you and let my friend here teach you how to take a beating." Shinto set his black hair like oil in the dark. Naruto scowled and looked at a tall man who was inspecting the blade. "You are correct, Shindozen. This is an authentic Uzumaki chakra saber. It will fetch a pretty penny, I am sure," said the tall man. Shinto nodded and motioned for a large man towards them. "Any news?" whispered Shinto. The large man shook his head. "Maybe he got distracted by another girl," said the large man. His tone wasn't too bright, and Naruto just watched the man inspecting his blade like a hawk. Shinto sighed. "I just hope he killed himself before Anko and Ibiki got hold of him," said Shinto, his tone uncaring. "Why is that?" asked the large man. Shinto smirked. "Because, on their own they can pull your deepest secrets to your lips, but together, no secret is safe," said Shinto. The large man grumbled slightly and glared at Naruto. "I'm hoping you make a mistake, pretty boy. I will beat your pretty face," and spat the large man. Naruto was about to make a smart comment, when the faces of the dead flashed before his eyes. "The first kill is always the hardest," said Shinto with a sigh. He pulled out a cigarette and put his back to the bars. Naruto said nothing as he stood, his fist clenched. "Shindozen, I have done my analysis. This is the official blade wielded by the late third Uzukage, Daisuke Uzumaki, and I have the perfect buyer if you are interested," said the tall skinny man. Shinto smirked slightly, blowing a plume of smoke out of his mouth. "Do it, he won't be needing it," said Shinto. The man nodded and began to pack away his things. Shinto smirked at the tears forming in Naruto's eyes. Surprised, there is a very particular market for Uzu trinkets, especially from the once great Uzumaki clan, which has landed with a blithering baby of a clan representative. Naruto ignored the man in favor of thinking of how to get out of this situation. He knew he could escape easily, but they knew who he was, what he wielded. He feared killing them, the pain that it brought. He turned and watched as the man bowed and turned to leave. His heart was pounding, his chakra buzzed excitedly. "You should not fear killing, it is what shinobi do, get over it, don't let them take what's yours," growled a voice through Naruto's head. He shivered, having an inkling as to what it was, but shaking his head, he realized the voice was correct. He was shinobi, he fought to protect, he wanted to be Hokage, meaning he needed to kill to protect his village. Naruto turned and with his calm and serene mask, he moved towards the cell doors, and, with yellow electricity pulsing around him slightly, he passed straight through the bars. "Amateurs, all of you," he said, his tone condescending and smooth. Shinto turned in horror and watched as Naruto turned to look at him, a cold look in his silver eyes. How did you?" Shinto whispered. Naruto turned and caught a fist of one of the men. Said man began to cry out in agony, and fire was ripping through his body. The tall man stopped and turned with his eyes wide. "Be blue fire," he whispered. Shinto was about to call his men to order, when suddenly bright blue katanas pierced every single one of his men in the room. They each opened their mouths, revealing a blue light coming from their mouths. Their eyes began to glow blue, before they disintegrated in a show of blur, fire and ash. The flaming swords evaporated into the air. The tall man stood with a shiver, clutching the blade tightly in his hand. He blinked and cried out in fear as Naruto appeared right in front of him, his hand on the blade, the other wrapped around the man's wrist, tightening his grip. A sickening snap filled the now quiet room. The man cried out in agony. Naruto plucked the blade out of the man's hands, holding the scabbard in his left hand. He spun and looked at Shindo, who was looking at him in fear. The tall man had pulled out a blade and was about to lunge, when Naruto's right hand flew to the hilt of his tanto, and in the blur it was pulled out and slammed back home. It happened in a blink of an eye, but when the noise of the hilt meeting with the guard, the click echoed, and the tall man's arm fell off, he was about to scream when a blood-red line began to appear diagonally across his throat. "Disgusting," grumbled Naruto. The man choked before falling down dead, his head falling off of his body. How? You were afraid earlier," whispered Shinto. It was now only him and Naruto. Naruto was just stood looking at him with a calm face. "I hate people like you. You try to take advantage of everyone. Not once have you shown concern for those who would die for you," said Naruto, his voice calm. Shindo shivered slightly and reached for his kunai. "Why? You spoiled little brat, what would you know about hardships, hatred, fear? You know nothing," yelled Shinto. He was about to dash forward, only to watch in fear and wonder as his hand dropped off, the kunai with it. Naruto stood at an angle, his hand on the hilt of the tanto. "I don't know a lot, but I grew up being hated, living in fear of an indiscriminate beating. I know what it's like to have nothing." "But instead of crying about life, you chose to hate it," said Naruto, his calm voice echoing through the room. Shindo growled. "I hate people like you, I really fucking hate you all," yelled Shindo. He blinked as Naruto appeared right by him, his silver eyes glinting in the little light that was left. "Weak," said Naruto simply, before he was suddenly back in his original position, his thumb holding the blade from closing. "Any last words?" said Naruto simply. Shindo found he couldn't move at all. "I fucking hate everyone," said Shinto. Naruto removed his thumb and the blade clicked home. Shindo fell to the floor as soon as the noise sounded. "You're late," said Naruto. Anko and Ibiki opened the door, both smirking. "Well done, Naruto," said Ibiki. Naruto pushed past them. "Whatever, let's go home," said Naruto. Anko and Ibiki looked at each other before moving out of the room. They watched as Naruto began to sway on his feet, and without warning, he collapsed. Anko and Ibiki both wrapped an arm around his waist. None of them had expected this to happen, on a simple journey home. Screams, bloody and horrific cries of agony echoed off of the walls. Faces were wide-eyed as they erupted in blue fire, the cries of men dying in surprise. It all echoed off of the dark walls. Naruto sat with his knees pulled up to his chin, his head bowed. He was shivering in fear. The water beneath him was a pool of blood. He dared to peek out of his legs, only to shiver in fear at the screaming pained faces that passed through his head. Naruto felt his blade on his back. It felt as if it was pulsing, ready to take another life. Naruto shivered, crying out in fear as bloody hands began to form and grab at him. He awoke with a start, his eyes flying open wide. He sat up and gave a brief gasp. He scowled slightly as his eyes took in his surroundings. He was previously led on a small red sofa. He turned his head slightly and relaxed. On the furthest curved wall was a large window, and outside was the Hidden Leaf Village. He heard the door click, and with sharp reflexes and a speed he had developed, he grabbed his blade and stood defensive. Hiruzen Sarutobi opened the door with his backside, a jolly whistle coming from his pursed lips, a tray in his hands, carrying 2 steaming bowls of ramen. He turned and almost dropped the tray in surprise. "Naruto-boy, you are awake," said Sarutobi after he got over his shock. He realized he couldn't feel any chakra coming from Naruto, then suddenly his dense chakra entered the room. Sarutobi watched as Naruto stared at him, his eyes brimming with tears. "Oh, old man," whispered Naruto. Tears fell down his face, the blade toppled from his hand. It stabbed into the floor as Naruto stumbled forward, his arms outstretched. "I am here," Naruto said. Sarutobi. He quickly put the tray on a nearby table, and turned as Naruto fell into his arms. "The faces, they won't go away," whispered Naruto. Sarutobi hugged Naruto tighter. "I know, Naruto, one of the many curses of a shinobi," said Sarutobi. Naruto cried into his arms. After half an hour of Naruto blubbering, he extricated himself from Hiruzen and looked down sheepishly. Sorry, old man," said Naruto. Sarutobi just smiled and looked at the ramen. "The food is cold now. I will call Mizuru to fetch us some more," said Sarutobi kindly. Naruto nodded and without a single noise he turned and retrieved his blade, sheathing it. The click made an echo through the room. Sarutobi watched Naruto closely, the depression seemed to pulsate around him. "How are things? How's the village?" asked Naruto softly. He attached the sword to his lower back and turned to see Sarutobi looking at him with a speculative face. "I see you have changed quite a bit in the time you have been away. I like the hair," said Sarutobi. Naruto nodded sheepishly and pulled at one of his horns. "It's a cool hairstyle. These horn things can get annoying though," said Naruto. Sarutobi watched as Naruto's face brightened slightly. "Did you learn a lot during your time away?" asked Sarutobi. Naruto nodded as he sat on the sofa. "Yeah, I learned chakra control, Daijutsu, Fuuin Jutsu, Kenjutsu and some other stuff," said Naruto, his hand moving to the hilt of his sword. "That's good. From what I have heard, you are of a low Jonin capability." "I am impressed," said Sarutobi. Naruto blinked slightly and looked at him. "Low Jonin, they never told me," said Naruto, a happy smile on his face. Sarutobi smiled also. He looked at the blade on Naruto's lower back. "Chakra saber, huh? I thought they were missing," said Sarutobi. Naruto smiled at him. "I was told to say, you didn't think I would die that easy, ape boy. I always have a plan," said Naruto. Sarutobi smiled sadly and shook his head. "Daisuke, my old friend, he must have made a seal of some kind," said Sarutobi. Naruto nodded sadly, tears glistened in his eyes. Naruto walked through the village, a brown envelope clutched in his hands. His red hair seemed to shimmer in the setting sun. The villagers would stop and look at him, some in fear, and some in confusion. Others wore faces of pure hatred. Naruto ignored them in favor of rattling the envelope he was carrying. He could tell it contained keys and paperwork, yet he didn't know what for. As he rounded the corner, he looked up at his apartment with a smile, which soon turned to horror. What was once a large empty apartment complex, one containing his home, was a black charred mess. His particular apartment was just a black cavern. Blood-red graffiti lined the walls, words saying demon, monster, murderer lined the walls. Naruto gave a scowl and turned to leave. "Hey Naruto, is that you?" called a familiar voice. Naruto felt something grab onto his boot. He looked down and saw a small white dog look up at him with his tongue hanging out. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Kiba and a very feral woman came walking up to him. "Kiba?" asked Naruto. Kiba stopped in front of him. He was panting slightly and looking at Naruto with a familiar smile. "It is you. I had my doubts considering you have changed, but your smell has hardly changed at all," said Kiba happily. Naruto noticed the feral women watching him closely. Naruto smiled slightly, raised his hand to his hair, fussing with it slightly. He found he couldn't smile much more than his small smile. "Hey Kiba, how was your month training period?" asked Naruto, his tone kind. Kiba raised an eyebrow, whilst the feral women watched him even closer, her eyes darting to his hair then to his face. "Ga good, though this woman here wouldn't leave me alone about training. I trained like every weekend. It was a killer. By the way, I see you passed the exam. I thought you were the only one to fail," said Kiba, his voice loud and boisterous. Naruto noticed how everyone was beginning to notice him. "Yeah, but I did an impromptu mission, thus gaining my rank of Genin," said Naruto as he looked at two men giving him very heated glares. Kiba just blinked as he looked at Naruto. The dead last seemed to have vanished. "Cool, so Naruto, did you train much over the time off?" asked Kiba. He was oblivious to all the looks that had fallen upon them. Naruto and the feral women however had not. She watched Naruto carefully. She was wary, though she was smart enough to recognize the contents and its container. Naruto's face had changed, his hair was red. She was wary because of the unknown. Was he really Naruto or was he a fox in sheep's clothing? The way he spoke, so differently from the loud, sometimes jumbled sentences that was the usual speech of Naruto Uzumaki. Now his speech seemed to have morphed into a well-spoken, proper spiel. Anyone didn't know who he was, would have believed come from nobility. Naruto met her stare easily. "Yeah, I trained thoroughly, making sure all my skills were up to scratch. I can certainly teach you a lesson," said Naruto looking at Kiba with a smile. "Ha, you talk big, Naruto, but there is no doubt you were the dead last. You would need to train for years to catch up to me. Hell, after my training I could probably give Sasuke Uchiha a run for his money," said Kiba boisterously. Naruto smirked. It wasn't a condescending smirk that is regularly given by one Sasuke Uchiha. It was a Inomarethanito smirk. "We will see, catch you later. I can see I am not wanted," said Naruto seemingly louder than Kiba thought necessary. But before Naruto could leave he turned and shook Kiba's hand. "Good luck, if I'm not on your team," said Naruto. Kiba smirked and nodded to Naruto and followed his mother, who seemed to be all but dragging him away. Naruto just sighed and walked towards the Hokage Tower. He ignored the whispers that seemed to follow him. It seemed news traveled fast around Konoha, and none of it was good. "It's obvious, it's the fox, look at his hair," were among the whispers. "He has those strange horns on his head, are they supposed to be ears?" were a few others. They caused Naruto to roll his eyes. "He has changed so much, it has to be the fox, he isn't wearing anything orange." Those caused Naruto to shake his head sadly. He walked into the courtyard of the Hokage Tower and noticed Sarutobi stood there shaking his head with a smile on his face. "I don't see what's too funny, old man," grumbled Naruto. Sarutobi just smiled wider and pulled the pipe out of his mouth. "I had a funny feeling you wouldn't open the envelope. He's not going to be happy you forgot about him," said Sarutobi. Naruto racked his brains trying to think of who he had forgotten about, before it suddenly clicked in his mind. Naruto. I was wondering if you would like to come live with me. I know it's a little late, but this was an eye-opener for me. I think I should start taking my brother's status seriously," echoed Iruka's voice. Naruto felt his hand smack his face, his eyes wide with shock. "Gah, I almost forgot," yelled Naruto. He began jumping on each foot, the manila envelope clutched tightly in his hands. Sarutobi smiled widely, a kind glow on his face. "It's nice to see he hasn't changed too much. It would be a shame if he lost himself completely," thought Sarutobi to himself. Naruto turned and looked at Sarutobi sharply, his eyes narrowing. Sarutobi smiled slightly, the resemblance to the fourth because of the seal being lifted. It was impossible not to see it. "You are enjoying this, aren't you, old man?" grumbled Naruto. Sarutobi took a simple puff of his pipe. "Indeed, watching you be as carefree as you used to be, it shows that you are uncorrupted by your power," said Sarutobi, though the tone missed the "yet." It was clearly a possibility. Even the best of people became corrupt. "I know you have your doubts, old man, but I love this village too much," said Naruto. He turned and went to leave. "Naruto, I know things are going to be hard, but just remember people here do like you," said Sarutobi. Naruto raised a hand as he walked away. Sarutobi wasn't oblivious to the looks Naruto was receiving as he walked away. Sarutobi blew out a plume of smoke and walked back in towards the building. Naruto took a heavy breath as he stood outside the house door. The house was just away from the main village center. It was in the posh district of town. Naruto had felt weird walking through this part of town. A part of himself that a month couldn't cure kept creeping back on him, the fear of certain parts of the villages. Naruto looked down at the pack in his hands. The paperwork saying he had been adopted by Iruka seemed to pulse in his hands. The house keys seemed to weigh a ton in his pocket. Everything about this moment seemed like a long-lost dream. The fact he now had a family, the option to change his name to Umino, brothers, that is what the papers said. Naruto had yet to decide, so many options on his plate: Uzumaki, Namikaze, now Umino. He didn't think he was ready to make that decision. He raised a hand, and with a deep exhale he knocked on the door. After waiting a few minutes, he banged on the door loudly, and with a large swing, Iruka answered the door disheveled. His hair was undone, and falling down onto his shoulders. Naruto looked up at him and smirked. "Wow, Niazan, you need some sleep," said Naruto. Iruka blinked his eyes slightly. He frowned in confusion briefly before he pulled Naruto into a hug. "God, Naruto, you look so different," said Iruka with a happy yell. He pushed Naruto away from his waist and stepped back and looked down on Naruto. "Thanks," said Naruto happily. Iruka realized he didn't need to look down as much on Naruto anymore. "You got taller, and your hair looks cool," said Iruka. Naruto smirked and looked at Iruka. "So you going to show me around our house, Niazan, or shall I stand out here?" said Naruto cheekily, his childish side coming back slightly. He knew he was different, but just seeing Iruka, and realizing they are actually a family. Iruka smiled happily and put his hand on Naruto's head. Come in, come in. "But you should know, you technically bought this place," said Iruka. Naruto frowned in confusion. Iruka blushed slightly and closed the door behind him. Iruka ignored the watching eyes, but Naruto took a peek behind, watching a girl dart behind a tree. Naruto awoke with a start, tears fell down his face. The sheets soaked with sweat, it poured down his body, he shook like a leaf in the breeze. Iruka ran into the room as quickly as he could without embarrassing himself by wearing only boxers, so he got changed quickly, and dashed to Naruto's room. As he threw open the door, Naruto's sharp eyes fixed on him. Iruka noticed the change and frowned slightly, but that frown turned to confusion as his body began to feel heavy. When Naruto blinked and his eyes changed back to their silver, Iruka felt his body shake. The sound was muted. He blinked and realized he was on the floor, Naruto looking over him with a terrified face. What was that?" whispered Iruka breathlessly. Naruto blinked slightly and smirked at the dopey look on Iruka's face. "Niazan," Naruto chuckled. Naruto shook his head. Iruka raised a hand and brushed a tear off of Naruto's whiskered cheek. Why were you crying? Asked Iruka. Naruto looked away, pain reflected in his silver eyes. The men I killed, their faces, they won't leave me alone, whispered Naruto painfully. Iruka sighed and sat up, albeit slowly, his head began to spin slightly. Naruto, I know it's painful, I will never forget the first life I took, it will be painful, but Naruto, you can't let it affect you like this, said Iruka. Naruto looked at him sharply. I am 13, Iruka-sensei, why I should worry about this? I should be worrying about impressing my sensei, trying to beat Sasuke. I shouldn't have to see the faces of people I have killed, said Naruto harshly. Iruka blinked slightly. Naruto looked away and apologized quietly. Think of people like Kakashi Hatake, he got the rank of Chunin at the age of 6, meaning at such a young age he was already taking lives. Itachi Uchiha was nothing but a year older than you and he was an Anbu captain. Naruto, taking a life is a thing we must do. You killed a leaf trader, it's one of the reasons you have another large lump of money going into your bank, said Iruka. Naruto gave a disgusted look. Money from killing, he whispered. Iruka looked at the clock on Naruto's bedside table and sighed. Let's take this to the kitchen, I will make us some breakfast, said Iruka. Naruto nodded and walked towards his bathroom. Thanks, Niazan, said Naruto. Iruka left the room and sighed wearily. I think a talk with Anko and Ibiki is in order, thought Iruka. He walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge with an audible sigh. Naruto stood with his head beneath the boiling hot water, a sigh left his mouth. He was supposed to be happy, he was going to be placed on a Jonin team, he was going to get a sensei that could help him expand his skills. He knew he couldn't get complacent with being told he was low Jonin, because one mistake makes no difference. But even now those faces wouldn't leave his mind. Iruka watched as Naruto walked into the kitchen pulling his tanto onto his lower back. Hey bro, what you making? Asked Naruto. Iruka smiled and flipped the pancake in the pan. Pancakes, I hope you get a good sensei, Naruto, said Iruka. Naruto raised an eyebrow. But won't you be there to present them? Asked Naruto in confusion. Iruka smiled sadly and shook his head. I am no longer allowed to give the teams, due to my now personal stakes, said Iruka simply. Naruto blinked slightly and sat at the table. Sorry, said Naruto simply. Iruka patted his head, and tried to flatten the horns on his head. How did you stick these up? Asked Iruka. Naruto snorted. I don't, they do it themselves, said Naruto. Iruka laughed at Naruto's disgruntled look. Naruto smiled slightly and tucked into his pancakes. Now remember, don't be cheeky, or I will come into the next room and give you smack upside the head, said Iruka as they walked through the village. Naruto realized almost everyone was watching him, even if it was with just a quick glare. Jonin were all giving him a nod and some even smiled. Somebody was putting in a good word. A pair of civilians stepped in front of him and Iruka. So it looks like the so-called monster has embraced his evil. Why isn't he dead yet, Iruka? Said the biggest man. Naruto glared hotly. And look, he finally has a backbone, unlike the other shrimp that used to shrivel in fear, like a little bitch. The fourth was stupid for leaving us with this burden. But the man was cut off by an extreme killer intent sent right at him. In a red blur, Naruto was upon him, his fist cocked back. Iruka blinked as he realized he would not be able to make it in time. Naruto had moved faster than he thought possible without chakra. The man blinked, his eyes closed, expecting an extreme pain, but when he opened his eyes he stepped backwards in shock. Naruto turned his glare to the arm holding him away. He followed the arm up, a single lazy eye stared at him. Naruto snarled slightly, indignation on his face. He was suddenly forced backwards. The Jonin looked at him lazily as he slid backwards past Iruka, his boots kicking up dirt and dust. Naruto snarled in fury and slammed his fist into the floor. A large crack stretched out from his fist, the ground shook slightly. Mama, we all need to calm down, said the masked Jonin. Naruto stood up and glared hotly, his Rinnegan flashing briefly. The Jonin blinked in confusion before returning to the lazy look that was plastered on the eye shown. They can say whatever they want about me, think whatever they want, but they will never insult the fourth Hokage, ever, snarled Naruto at the end. The Jonin just sighed and shrugged. And maybe you shouldn't be so hot-headed and just ignore them, said the Jonin. Iruka was about to reprimand the Jonin when he felt a hand on his elbow. Whatever, said Naruto. He slammed his palm into the floor, Iruka being pulled down viciously. Naruto leapt slightly, and disappeared with a blur. What a strange jutsu, thought the Jonin, before he turned his glare to the civilians in the area. Iruka blinked in shock as the blurred landscape suddenly became sharp. He collapsed onto one knee and coughed slightly. Naruto just ignored him and stormed forward towards the academy doors. Kids and Jonin parted ways as he stormed through them. In the silence the noise of grinding teeth could be heard clearly. Ino and Sakura both blinked. Who was that boy, whispered Ino. Sakura shrugged. I don't know, to think a guy could rival Sasuke-kun in looks, though he still isn't as good looking, said Sakura. Ino nodded seriously. I know, no way could anyone beat my Sasuke-kun, said Ino. Sakura glared. You're Sasuke-kun, Inoue, get it right, screeched Sakura. Kiba was stood with Choji and Shikamaru and their parents outside the classroom when they all felt a strong but angry pressure walking towards them. Naruto, wait up, called a familiar voice. If you don't hurry up, Nia-san, I will flash us there again, said an angry voice. I would rather you didn't, I almost threw up, said Iruka. All the parents watched as a red-headed boy stormed past them. He looked at them briefly. Shikaku, Kuza and Inoue paused and stared at him. He looked at them and frowned. They weren't looking at him like a monster or like he was about to explode into a ball of malicious demon fox. They all looked sad, like they had remembered something they missed early, which was exactly on track. Minato and Kushina was the thought echoed through each of their heads. Naruto shook his head as he stalked past them, and walked through the classroom door. I don't know what to think of him anymore, said Tsume. Inoue, Shikaku and Kuza all raised an eyebrow. It's obvious who he looks like though, said Inoue. Before he was cut off with a cough, he looked at Shikaku, who was motioning with his eyes to the kids. Shikamaru was looking at them all with a confused frown. Choji was just eating his chips, staring intently at Akamaru. Kiba just glared at Choji, but all the adults knew they were listening. Go inside the class, kids. Good luck, said Kuza. All the kids put up resistance but moved into the class. Naruto looked at the slowly filling class. He turned and briefly looked out of the window. And Naruto-kun, came a light whisper. Naruto turned his head back to the class to see a girl with deep blue hair. Her skin fair stood in front of him. Naruto looked at her timid face, the blush adorning her cheeks. Her eyes were looking away. Naruto felt a small smile grace his lips. Hey, he said softly. She gave a small eep before bowing slightly. Due to the fact that not many people were present, she clearly felt less embarrassed. She gave a dramatic bow and almost bumped her head on the chair closest to her. See, congratulations, on passing. I am happy to see you pass, she rushed at the end. Naruto smiled slightly, a blush on his cheeks. It was the first time someone his age actually gave him a compliment, and a girl no less. Thank you very much, said Naruto. The girl smiled, though her face was bright red. Her head snapped up and she smiled brightly at him. No, thank you, she whispered. She turned sharply about to walk off, when she felt someone grab hold of her arm. Why, you can sit next to me if you want, Naruto said bashfully. Hinata felt her vision swim, but she took a steadying breath and nodded her head slightly. I would like that, she whispered. She sat next to Naruto and pushed her two fingers together. A blush stuck onto her face. Naruto blushed lightly at the content look on her face. He turned and looked out of the window. Whoever he is, it seems Hinata is moving in already. Who would have thought that shy little mouse would have the courage to talk to him, whispered a nameless girl. Ino and Sakura looked at the boy closely. His mouth and cheeks were covered by his hand, a blush tinting his cheeks. Who is he? I have never seen a hairstyle like that before, whispered Sakura. Ino scowled slightly. I know, I wonder how long it takes to make those horns. I don't like a guy who spends more time in the bathroom than me, said Ino. Sakura snorted. It would take another girl to beat your score, Miss Piggy, said Sakura. Ino scowled and looked at the red-headed mystery. I dare you to go ask him his name, forehead, said Ino. But before Sakura could comment, an unnamed Chunin stormed into the room, a frown on his face. Everyone sit down, he yelled, his voice commanding. Everybody within the room who wasn't already seated sat down instantly. Sensei, where is Iruka-sensei, asked a boy with black hair. The Chunin sighed and rubbed a hand through his hair. Iruka-sensei has a brother within the class, therefore he is not allowed to present the team, said the Chunin. Naruto smiled slightly behind his hand. Hinata whispered a congratulations, to which he turned and smiled brightly at her. She seemed stunned slightly before she blushed and looked at her hands, a happy smile on her face. Anyway, as you all know, you are all now Genin, a complete class pass, very rare indeed, said the Chunin before the class erupted into questions. Though Naruto Baka failed, said Sakura loudly. Naruto watched as the quiet girl's eyes darkened and glared at Sakura. Naruto Uzumaki saved the village by stopping Mizuki from stealing the scroll of sealing from the Hokage, said the Chunin. He was about to continue when a voice piped up. He can also control blue fire, said Sasuke Uchiha. A glare settled on the front of the room. Yes, well, more so, each one of you had a month to train, and now you are going to be given your Genin teams and Jonin-sensei. These people will be your best friends, your confidants, and your backup whenever needed. Treat your team like a family, and one day, you could possibly become like the legendary Sennin, if you also listen to the instructions of your sensei, said the Chunin. The class began to talk until the Chunin called for silence. Team 1, Yomiko Izuki, Hiryu Mizuri, and Hidotsuki Shinryu called the Chunin. Each one stood up as their name was called, and then they moved to sit next to each other. Naruto shut off until his name was called. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto stood up, Sakura once again decided to speak in his place. He hasn't shown up yet, Sensei called Sakura. The Chunin sighed and looked at Naruto at the back of class. Then why is he stood up now, said the Chunin, and almost instantly everyone turned their heads. Sakura and Ino and most of the girls in the class looked absolutely shocked. Kiba just shrugged his shoulders. Shikamaru looked at Naruto closely, trying to find similarities to anybody he has seen. Sasuke glared at Naruto hotly, only for Naruto to ignore him completely. Many others just threw him disgusted and curious looks. Anyway, as I was saying, Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke stood still glaring at Naruto. Both Ino and Sakura were silently praying to be on the team, knowing that being surrounded by two good-looking boys would make their popularity skyrocket. And Sakura Haruno, he called before Sakura stood up and cheered. Ino just slammed her head into the table. Naruto just groaned slightly. And your sensei is Kakashi Hatake, said the Chunin. Naruto perked at this, knowing a Hatake had one of the Uzuchakra sabers. Naruto watched as the dark-haired girl was saddened when she heard her team. Naruto patted her shoulder and offered a smile, which she returned full blush. Naruto sat and waited, his future beginning today. It was silent, the sounds of birds and children playing echoed through the classroom. Naruto sighed quietly as he looked out of the window. His two teammates were sat in complete silence, one was glaring at him, and another was staring at him in confusion. Naruto grumbled slightly as he turned his head towards Sasuke. Will you stop glaring, Sasuke? You're giving me a migraine, said Naruto. Sasuke just glared harder. Naruto, how come you look so different, asked Sakura honestly. She couldn't help it. Whilst the older Naruto annoyed the hell out of her, this one seemed relatively peaceful to be around. I don't even know where to begin. I tell you what, prove to me you are a loyal teammate, then I may tell you the tale, said Naruto. Sakura nodded seriously. She had to admit, she wouldn't reveal any of her secrets to anyone she didn't trust. So she couldn't expect Naruto to. Show me, said Sasuke seriously. Sakura looked at him confused. Naruto blinked slightly, a smirk on his face. Sorry Sasuke, I'm only interested in girls, Naruto said. Sakura looked affronted whilst Sasuke glared hotly. Cha! Naruto is so much cooler than before, thought Sakura, though she was a bit angry about the Sasuke comment, but she would get her revenge later. Show me the blue fire, growled Sasuke. Naruto blinked slightly, a confused look fell onto his face. How do you know about that anyway, asked Naruto. Sasuke smirked. I saw the giant dragon, and the destruction it caused just from a roar, said Sasuke. Sakura looked at Naruto in surprise. That blue dragon was you, she said. She looked at Sasuke and realized he was serious. Naruto blinked embarrassedly. Why yeah, I had a special seal on my body, it was put there when I was a baby. I unlocked the seal by accident, which is why I look different, that is all I am going to tell you. As for the blue fire, said Naruto before he clenched his fists, and whilst concentrating on his hand, he opened his palm, and the blue fire began coursing around his hand. The majestic blue lit the room. Beautiful, whispered Sakura. Naruto smiled in thanks, to which Sakura returned. Sasuke just stared at the fire, anger and jealousy in his eyes. How strong is it, asked Sasuke. Naruto blinked before dispelling the fire. Well, in that form, I can punch through anything. I use it to strengthen a single strike, and depending on how much force, I can punch a hole through a person, but it takes a lot of concentration, so I can only do it once, before I have to refocus, said Naruto. Sasuke seemed to inch closer. What do you mean in that form, said Sasuke eagerly. Naruto raised an eyebrow and leant backward slightly. He was about to answer when the door opened. Is this Team 7, asked the masked man, with the Konoha headband covering his right eye. Naruto stood up and pointed angrily. Why you're that idiot Jonin from earlier, yelled Naruto. Sakura and Sasuke both frowned. So he is still there, slightly was their combined thought. Kakashi blinked slightly at Naruto. And you're the emotional little boy who was about to kill a civilian, said Kakashi lazily. Naruto glared hotly. Sasuke frowned slightly. Sakura looked at him shocked. He insulted the fourth Hokage, said Naruto, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Kakashi frowned at Naruto slightly. Do you know? Asked Kakashi simply. Naruto nodded seriously. Kakashi's single eye went wide, and beneath his mask his mouth formed an O. Sensei, why are you so late, asked Sakura. Kakashi shook off his expression and with a curved eye smile, he answered in an overly chipper voice. Well, you see, There was this child trying to get her cat from a tree. I decided to help, but we realized the cat was evil and tried to exorcise the cat," said Kakashi. He had to admit it was one of his lamest excuses, but he thought to start the Jonan off easily. "You are going to be late a lot, aren't you?" said Naruto simply. Kakashi continued to smile. Maybe not," said Kakashi simply. "My first impressions of you are you seem bearable." "Meet me up on the roof," said Kakashi before he disappeared in a flurry of leaves. Naruto stood and with his hands in his pockets he moved to the door. He opened it up for his teammates, who were both looking at his Tanto. "Where did you get the blade, Dobi?" asked Sasuke. Naruto looked at it and smiled slightly. "It was a gift," he stated with a sad smile. Sasuke shrugged and moved through the door. Sakura followed Sasuke loyally, and offered Naruto a small smile as she passed. Naruto was confused. Nobody seemed to care. There was no major drilling, no questions as to why he looked so different. It was like nobody cared. He shrugged slightly and moved through the door. He blinked as he saw Shikamaru, Choji, Ino and their Jonin sensei. Shikamaru was at the front with his arms crossed. "Naruto, how did you change?" asked Shikamaru bluntly. Naruto sighed and tilted his head back to look at the ceiling. "A seal was put on me as a baby. It locked away certain aspects of my physiology, and therefore, on the night of the Jonan exam, I unlocked the seal by accident." "Next question," asked Naruto. Shikamaru smirked slightly. "Is the fourth Hokage your father?" said Shikamaru simply. Choji stopped eating his chips and looked at Naruto sharply. Ino felt her jaw drop open, and their Jonin sensei began to choke, pulling a cigarette from his mouth. "You do realize that is a secret for a reason. You can be executed for speaking such a classified secret," said Naruto. Shikamaru smirked slightly. "Yet you don't deny it," said Shikamaru. Ino felt herself studying Naruto closely. They had all only seen one photo of the fourth Hokage, and that was during one of the festivals. A shrine in his honor was displaying his photo. She saw it immediately, the face structure, the eye shape, it was all the same. "Yes, he is, but you cannot tell anyone. Am I clear?" said Naruto simply. Shikamaru nodded and looked at his teammates. "We will not say a word," said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded and turned to walk off. As he walked towards the stairs he heard Shikamaru call his name. He turned his head and noticed Shikamaru smiling at him slightly. "Congratulations," said Shikamaru simply. Naruto nodded with a smile and walked through the door, leading to the roof stairs. Naruto walked through the door and noticed the impatient looks of his teammates. His sensei was instead looking at the Hokage monument. Finally, "Naruto Baka, what did you do? Get lost? I thought you were smarter." "Obviously not," said Sakura. Naruto just sighed and shook his head. He stood in the middle of his teammates, who were each sat on the floor. "Now that you are here, congratulations on becoming Jonin, all of you. Now why don't we introduce ourselves, our likes, dislikes, dreams and hobbies," said Kakashi. Sakura looked at him confused. "Why don't you go first, sensei? It will make things easier," said Sakura. Kakashi resisted the urge to sigh. "Fine, my name is Kakashi Hitake. I don't feel like telling you my likes or dislikes. I don't really have any hobbies. And my dreams, well, I have never really thought of them," said Kakashi. Naruto smirked, Sasuke just grunted and Sakura looked angry. "All we got was your name," she said grumpily. Kakashi smiled and looked at Naruto. "Okay, tomato, you first," said Kakashi, a sad smile on his face. Naruto frowned slightly and then glared at Kakashi. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, training, my brother Iruka. My hobby would be training with my sword, I guess. I don't like traitors, ignorant people and those who feel they don't have to work hard. My dream for the future, well, to become Hokage, and protect all those precious to me. And make my family and clan proud," said Naruto. Sasuke perked up and looked at Naruto with a strange look. Naruto noticed and ignored it. Sakura looked at him, confusion in her eyes. Kakashi smiled. "Pinky, you next," said Kakashi simply. "My name is Sakura Haruno. What I like is..." Looks at Sasuke blushing. "My dreams are..." Once more looks at Sasuke. "And what I hate is..." Big the two boys realized she didn't say Naruto, which was quite a surprise. Kakashi sweat dropped and looked at Sasuke. "And finally you," said Kakashi. Sasuke grunted before answering. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan, and kill a certain someone," Sasuke said, his eyes flashing in anger. Naruto couldn't help it, a chuckle escaped his lips. Sasuke looked at him in fury. "Sorry, just remembered something funny," said Naruto lamely. "You dare laugh at my dream, Dobi? What about you?" "I want to make my family and clan proud." "You have none of those things, and never have." "So why would you have such a ridiculous dream?" yelled Sasuke, fury and madness in his eyes. Naruto raised a red eyebrow. "I didn't laugh at your dreams, I mean what man wouldn't want the opportunity to revive his clan? But the whole revenge thing, I just don't get it," said Naruto honestly. Sasuke glared even harder, and stood quickly. Naruto looked down at Sasuke slightly, being just taller than him. "You have no idea what I have been through," yelled Sasuke. Naruto suddenly saw the face of Shinto, the screaming voices. Naruto felt his heart thump unevenly. "Sasuke, back off," yelled Kakashi. He recognized the look on Naruto's face, the face of guilt, the one present on most who had taken a life. Sasuke misread Naruto's look as fear of him. Superiority flooded through him. "Your little flame powers mean nothing, you're still Adobe, scared of those better than you," said Sasuke, the superior smirk on his face. Naruto stood there silent and glassy-eyed. Kakashi moved forward and patted Naruto on the shoulder softly. "You okay?" asked Kakashi softly. Naruto blinked slightly, a tear present in his eyes. "Yeah, I'm fine," said Naruto shakily. Kakashi moved back to the railing and looking over his team he sighed mentally. They all have issues, this is going to be such a bother, Kakashi thought to himself, but as he looked at Naruto and Sasuke, he felt his heart pull slightly, the images of his former sensei and teammate. "Now that you have become Genin, I can tell you about tomorrow. You will meet me at 5 in the morning at Training Ground 7, said Kakashi. Sakura looked at him in confusion. "Shouldn't we meet outside the missions office?" she asked. Kakashi shook his head. "No, before we can go on missions, we must have survival training," Kakashi said lazily. Naruto and Sakura frowned slightly. "But sensei, we already had survival training," said Naruto, his mind working in overtime to come up with a reasonable explanation as to why they would have another survival training. "Well, you see, this is a different type of training. Of those who passed the exam, only 6 Genin will be able to progress and become official Genin, and those who fail will immediately be shipped back to the academy," said Kakashi. He wanted to get a rise. Out of the 3 only one looked shocked. Sasuke sat with a shocked glare on his face, which turned to his teammates, as if sizing them up. "If I have to fight them, it will be easy. But Naruto's new ability, it's too unpredictable," Sasuke thought. Naruto just sat thinking about why they would kick out so many students. Sakura was just worried about being split from Sasuke. "So as I said, meet me at Training Ground 7. At 5 in the morning. Oh, and don't eat breakfast," Kakashi said with humor light in his tone. "Why?" asked Naruto, horrified at the thought of missing breakfast. "Otherwise you'll throw up," said Kakashi before he disappeared in a blur of leaves once more. Naruto frowned in confusion. He stood quietly and moved to the railings. With a graceful leap he jumped up onto the railings and balanced on them. Turning his head briefly to look at his teammates, he nodded and took a casual step off. Sakura gasped and ran to the edge of the building. She blinked in confusion as there was only a small flicker of yellow lightning and no Naruto. "He is so weird," said Sakura. Sasuke grunted and looked towards the top of the Hokage monument. The blue dragon seemed to ghost in front of him, reminding him of that night a month ago. I wonder how strong he is. He walks like him," growled Sasuke at the end. Sakura blinked at Sasuke and frowned in confusion. "What does his walk have to do with anything?" asked Sakura dumbly. Sasuke frowned at her and stood up. "Why am I even talking to you? You can tell a skilled shinobi by their walk. If they walk like you, a total moron, unskilled and should be ashamed of calling yourself a ninja, then you walk like one. Whereas someone skilled like Kakashi, you walk with a certain grace, like a snake poised to kill," said Sasuke as he walked away. Sakura blushed slightly, ignoring the fact that Sasuke had insulted her. "But what does that have to do with Naruto?" she said dumbly. Sasuke rolled his eyes. "He walks like Kakashi," said Sasuke as he moved into the doorway. "Then who do you walk like, Sasuke-kun?" said Sakura. She turned and noticed Sasuke glaring at the door frame. "To them, I walk like you," said Sasuke simply. Sakura frowned slightly whilst Sasuke disappeared through the door. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji were all sat in silence. Asuma was watching the side of the academy with wide eyes. "I think that just proves it," said Shikamaru. The team had taken refuge on the roof of a neighboring building, which had a clear view of Team 7 and the rest of the academy. They had just began to talk when they caught movement on the roof of the other building. The Jonin sensei had disappeared in a show of leaves. They watched as Naruto then went and gracefully jumped on the railings. From their angle they watched as Naruto took a step off, dropping from the side of his teammates, when he suddenly disappeared in a show of yellow lightning. Asuma had dropped his cigarette, and the Genin had all but frozen. "Why, Shikamaru, how does that prove anything, other than he can sunshine with yellow lightning instead of leaves?" said Ino dumbly. Of course she couldn't deny Naruto was a spitting image of the late 4th Hokage, but to justify how and why Naruto was kept hidden, it was a mystery to her. The Hiraishin Jutsu is the fastest jutsu ever to be recorded. It is faster than the second Hokage's own space/time ninjutsu. It allows for a person or object to be transported to another location with the help of a seal tag. The speed of this jutsu is almost instantaneous, and it was recorded that the 4th Hokage decimated a whole battalion of ninja in an instant. He moved so fast, it appeared as if there was more than one of them, said Asuma with a cigarette hanging inches away from his mouth. You are kidding, right? He was that fast, said Choji in wonder. Asuma nodded seriously. Did you not have a lesson on the 4th? asked Asuma. Choji nodded and Shikamaru smirked. Yeah, but me, Choji and Kiba skipped. Naruto was so interested in the lesson, he actually stayed the whole time, chuckled Shikamaru. Ino nodded slightly. He did. He wouldn't stop with his questions. Do you think he knew the whole time? Said Ino. Shikamaru shrugged. Do you ask Shikamaru easily? No, let's not forget, Naruto would have been bragging to the Hokage Mountain and back, and he would never let Sasuke-kun live it down, said Ino, a flip of her hair and look of adoration in her eyes. I don't know, this new Naruto seems really chilled, said Choji. Shikamaru nodded. He clearly learned a lot of truths that took the chip off of his shoulder, said Shikamaru. Choji nodded whilst Ino gave a snort. Yeah, his dad is probably the strongest Kage to ever live, said Ino loudly. Suddenly they were surrounded by Anbu, and Asuma sighed wearily and nodded to them. We will go see him, he said simply. Ino and Choji both looked confused, whereas Shikamaru remembered something Naruto said. A warning of sorts. You do realize that is a secret for a reason. You can be executed for speaking such a classified secret. Shikamaru frowned slightly. When did he get so damn smart, he thought with a smile. Naruto was such a mystery. Naruto smiled widely as he stood within the center of Training Ground 7. He knew that because he was now a Genin, within Team 7, meant that these training grounds were technically his to use when he feels the need. Of course, he still had to pass the test tomorrow, but he was confident in his skills. The cool evening breeze blew softly across the open expanse of the training ground. The splashing of water seemed to soothe Naruto slightly, reminded him of Uzu. He saw the 3 training posts and smiled. Moving his hand into a cross, the clearing filled with clones, their hands in the same jutsu sign. Naruto nodded to his clones simply, and their eyes all changed to the Rinnegan, the real. Naruto took a deep breath and in a blur he was gone. One of the clones almost immediately pulled out its Tanto and blocked Naruto, who appeared with his own Tanto drawn. They clashed, the noise echoing through the evening air. Naruto smirked slightly, knowing that using a simple speed move would not fool his Rinnegan. The clone smirked slightly, and with a flick of its wrist, a kunai appeared and with an elegant twisted thrust the kunai towards the real Naruto. Naruto dodged the kunai, and then almost as if it was the signal to fight, every single clone moved into action. Naruto bent backward slightly as a fist sailed past his face. Another clone was anticipating this and sent a kick towards his head. Naruto quickly rolled onto the floor, his blade slid into its scabbard as he rolled. The movement seemed effortless. Quickly placing a palm onto the floor, and a slight chakra boost to his muscles, and he pushed, spinning in the air. He narrowly dodged a sliding kick from a clone. Naruto quickly kicked his foot downwards onto the head of the clone. It dispelled in a cloud of smoke. Naruto used this time and landed softly on the ground. He crouched and jumped out of the smoke. As he leapt up, a few of the clones followed him. Naruto quickly pulled out his Tanto and in a show of yellow lightning, he appeared throughout the throng of clones. Each were wide-eyed as a Tanto tore through them. Naruto landed in a crouch on the ground. Small yellow lightning storms littered the battlefield, showing where he had been in almost seconds. Naruto dodged his head sideways, a Tanto cutting his cheek. He looked wide-eyed at the clone, whose eyes were glaring hard. Naruto flipped sideways, pulling out his Tanto. He blocked the single clone, and felt his arm strain under the pressure. "This is more amusing than I thought," said the clone, his voice deep and menacing. Naruto felt his eyes widen. Fox," whispered Naruto. The clone licked his lips menacingly and smirked. "How did you guess? Was it my voice, or our difference in power?" said Kyubi. His face was smiling widely, frightening. Naruto blinked in shock as he felt Kyubi wrap a hand around his wrist. Naruto dropped his Tanto as the Kyubi squeezed. How are you here?" whispered Naruto. The Kyubi just grunted and threw Naruto over his head as if Naruto was nothing but a feather. Naruto gasped in surprise and landed on his back painfully. He heard the whoosh of air, and a foot stomped on his throat. "Now you listen well, you little brat. I want nothing more than to crush your puny little throat beneath my foot, but, if you die I die. When you studied Fuuin Jutsu, you weren't the only one to come up with ideas. Now, As it stands, I am stronger than you. So just let me free. You saw how easy I could beat you. Don't make me force my way out, because as it stands, I know how to do just that," said the QB. He would constantly push on Naruto's throat. Naruto was crying. Fear shook him to the core. His vision was beginning to blur. "You helped me. On the way home," choked Naruto. QB smirked slightly and removed his foot. "Weak little fool," said QB. He held out a hand and Naruto blinked slightly, the tears blurring his vision. He led there with a dumb look on his face. I don't get it," coughed Naruto. He felt it weird that he was looking at his clone, yet the clone was something much more sinister. "You are still such a stupid brat," said QB. Naruto blinked slightly and grabbed the outstretched hand. "So you are not trying to kill me?" asked Naruto quietly, his throat aching. "Oh yeah, I am just helping you up and giving you a fair chance," said QB with a menacing growl. Naruto blinked in shock, his eyes flicking to his Tonto lead on the floor. QB dropped into a crouch, a feral growl rumbling in his chest. Fuck, the QB is trying to break free, he's trying to kill me," Naruto thought to himself in panic. Naruto took a breath and in a flash of yellow he flipped and scooped his Tonto off of the floor. He landed on his feet gracefully, the sword clutched in his hand. His eyes darted everywhere, there was once more a whoosh of wind, and a hand had grabbed onto his face. "Too fucking slow," growled the owner. Naruto cried out as a force slammed into the side of his head. He flew across the clearing, his Tonto clutched in his hand. He hit the water and skidded once before he adjusted his chakra. He knelt on the water, breathing hard, his face and body ached. He didn't get a chance to catch his breath when the clone appeared in front of him, and with an upthrust of his palm, he cracked Naruto right in the jaw. Naruto was rocketed backwards, a crack and grunt of pain echoed through the clearing. "Too strong, I can't even move without him attacking me," Naruto thought in pain. He skidded along the floor and rolled onto his feet painfully. "And here I thought you would give me a challenge," the QB growled. Naruto coughed, blood sliding out from his pursed lips. "Why are you here? What are you doing?" asked Naruto. The QB, in his clone's form, just smirked. "I thought you had actually received some brains," said QB simply. QB clone shifted, a clawed hand facing down to the floor, the other was clawed at his chest. "Why are you using my Cobra style?" called Naruto. The QB just smirked. "Why did you name it the Cobra style? The snake style is already one," said QB, his tone patronizing. Naruto felt his body shift into a slight crouch. "Because it utilizes a different style and tactic to use. Serpent style is for the flexible, Cobra is for the fast and hard-hitting," said Naruto. The clone nodded. "Then fight back, or die," said QB menacingly before he disappeared in a blur. Naruto quickly channeled chakra into his eyes, the spiral spun and Naruto ducked low as the QB clone appeared in front of him, a palm outstretched. If it was to have hit, it would have punched a hole through him. Naruto quickly grabbed hold of the QB clone and flipped over him, his hand wrapping around the clone's head. Naruto went to take a snap when the QB quickly pulled him off. Hours had passed. Naruto stood panting, his clothes a mess, blood all over. "Come!" yelled Naruto, his eyes serious, his expression calm. The QB nodded, a smile on his face. The QB disappeared in a blur once more. Naruto ducked and with a graceful arc, swung his Tonto. The QB leant back slightly, only for Naruto to follow up with a kick. The QB was thrown backwards. Naruto stood and with his eyes closed, focused on the blue fire. QB watched as Naruto stood with his arms to his side. Suddenly his hands began to glow blue. A blue aura covered his hands, much like chakra, only denser. The QB dashed forward, and watched as in almost slow motion, Naruto opened his eyes and changed his stance to the same as he had done earlier. The QB pulled out the Tonto on his back and with an elegant twirl of the blade, he pointed it forward, prepared to stab Naruto. "Too slow," said Naruto. QB felt one of the hands push his blade out of the way, his body seemed to overreact, his sword arm went wide, leaving his whole body exposed. Naruto then thrust his other hand straight at the clone's chest. The resounding dispel seemed to echo across the clearing. Naruto stumbled forward, collapsing on his knees. "Well done, brat, I am sorry, but you earned this," said QB through Naruto's head. Naruto blinked in confusion before a searing pain roared through his body. He cried out in agony. "Haven't I had enough changes and pain?" Naruto thought to himself. He cried out as the red chakra began to spin around him dangerously. Naruto called a female voice. Through the roaring pain Naruto could see Hinata running towards him. Hey Hinata, right?" said Naruto through the pain. Hinata nodded with tears in the corners of her eyes. "What is happening?" she cried. Naruto looked up at her face, the tears and fear in her eyes, just for him. It made his heart warm. Damn it, I don't know," said Naruto. He wished he could tell her, tell anybody. but he didn't know whether she could be trusted. "What is the fox doing?" said Hinata forcefully, though her voice shook slightly. Naruto coughed and smiled. "You know," said Naruto. Hinata nodded. Naruto felt the fire die down. "Yeah, I have known for a while. I saw my dad talking to a picture when I was younger. He said about your burden and how people stop him from helping. He apologized to them," said Hinata. Naruto smiled. "My burden, huh? You're the first person to call it that." He coughed. Hinata nodded seriously. "Oh my, I'm so sorry. I just thought I didn't know," said Hinata sadly. Naruto put a hand on hers. "Hey, it's okay, I am glad someone sees it that way," he said shakily. The fire was quickly leaving his body. Whatever the fox had done made him feel different. "Naru-kun, what is wrong with your chakra, and your eyes?" "They are red," said Hinata. Naruto blinked and realized Hinata had veins either side of her eyes. He frowned slightly and coughed. "I don't know, they are supposed to be silver," said Naruto worriedly. He was worried the fox had messed up his bloodline. "I think we should go visit the hospital," said Hinata worriedly. Naruto shook his head as he shakily tried to sit up on his knees. "For fuck's sake, I thought I was done with all this," he muttered under his breath. He sat up, his spiky hair bouncing as he looked at Hinata with a crooked smile. "Are you sure you're okay?" asked Hinata in a hushed whisper. Naruto just smiled wider. "Sure am. Now if it's not too rude, why are you here?" asked Naruto politely. It was almost instantaneous. Hinata gave a small leap and blushed bright. Well She struggled. Naruto stood shakily and laughed. "It's okay, I will show you the way to Training Ground 8," laughed Naruto. Hinata stayed on her knees, a dejected look on her face. "Naruto thinks I am stupid. I came to watch him train, to talk to him. Neji is right, I am weak, I can't even talk to Naruto-kun without clamming up. Even Naruto thinks I'm stupid, he wants me to go away," Hinata thought to herself. Falling deeper into sadness, Naruto turned and blinked at the sudden dark aura surrounding Hinata. "Whoa, Hinata, are you okay?" asked Naruto. He leant over and put a hand on her shoulder. Hinata flinched slightly and stood quickly, a dramatic bow. "Sorry for being in the way, I shouldn't have come, I just wished to talk to you. I mean, you are really nice, and you are different, not just the way you look. You are happier, smarter," Hinata said without taking a single breath. Naruto blinked slightly. He had caught everything she was saying, by the fact that his Rinnegan was still active and it followed the lip movements. Hey Hinata, But Naruto didn't get a chance to finish as Hinata dashed off. Naruto sighed and rubbed a hand through his hair. "She is so weird," he thought. The yellow lightning began to ripple around him. He found it wasn't as agitated as before. "Whatever you did, Fox, next time warn me, you frightened the life out of me," thought Naruto. He heard the Kyuubi give a faint snort. Naruto shook his head and in a yellow flash he was gone. Hinata had just disappeared from the clearing when she was met with a hard chest. She gasped in shock. Yellow lightning coursed around Naruto. His arms were around her, stopping her from falling over. Tears streamed down her face. "You didn't give me a chance to answer," said Naruto. Hinata blinked in shock. So fast, she thought. She realized another change in Naruto. His skill was far beyond his original level. Sorry," she whispered. Naruto just smiled and with an arm around her shoulder he walked back to the clearing, a smile on his face. Hinata just looked up at him, a small smile on her lips. "So Hinata-kun, what do you want to talk about?" asked Naruto after they both sat in the center of the clearing. Naruto was sat with his arms either side of him, his legs stretched out in front of himself. Hinata was sat with her legs pulled up to her chest. Her arms circled around her knees. Her face tucked slightly, to hide her blush. "You," she said hesitantly. Naruto rolled his eyes, but smiled anyway. "What about me?" "There is a lot to talk about," said Naruto. It wasn't big-headed, it was the truth. Hinata understood this and flushed more. "You how why are you different?" asked Hinata shyly. Naruto blinked at her, the evening sky reflected in her eyes. "Wow, well, I suppose I should start from the beginning. I had just failed the Junon exam," said Naruto, both getting lost in the story of how Naruto had changed. They both lost track of time, the late evening becoming night. Naruto just spoke softly into the night. Hinata sat just listening, content with just being in the same place as her crush, constantly praying it wasn't a dream. So, do you think the seal messed with your mind?" asked Hinata. Naruto blinked slightly and smiled sadly as he turned to look up at the night sky. "I would love to say no, but in reality, I know it did. I am smarter, I know things thought to have been lost in the academy, everything I read as a child whilst sat with the old man. It's here for the picking, you know," said Naruto. Hinata nodded slightly. "So, what is it like, being freed?" asked Hinata softly. Naruto sat wide-eyed. Nobody had asked him that. I suppose it feels good. I understand I should be angry. But things happen for a reason, and I am stronger because of it, said Naruto, a happy and content smile on his face. Then it was all worth it. The pain, the training, said Hinata. Naruto nodded seriously. But it doesn't feel as if I tried hard at all. I feel like one of those prodigies, who instantly grasps a situation, technique, anything and replicates it easily. But my trainer told me, prodigies and geniuses are not the same, one cannot be both. I just I hate feeling as if this was just given to me, said Naruto. Hinata nodded, her mind flashing Neji and Sasuke, their hard face, then Naruto's easygoing smile, his calm face, and his ever-calming aura. But the difference is you came into your power, you know the hardships of having nothing. You are more realistic than them, said Hinata. Naruto turned to look at her and gave her a blinding smile, which caused Hinata to blush. A small smile graced her lips. Naruto's smile shrunk to a more calming one. He took in Hinata's appearance, the ivory skin, the midnight hair. She was the epitome of simple beauty, one that even Naruto couldn't ignore. So what about you, get much training done, asked Naruto softly. Hinata gave a small shiver as the night air brushed against her. Naruto scooted closer and wrapped an arm around her. Both blushing and looking the opposite way. Hinata felt her vision swim as Naruto's warm body molded to her own, his arm around her shoulders. It was a total innocent hold. But both couldn't explain the hammering in their hearts, and the blood rushing up their faces. And not really. Father finds me. It doesn't matter, she whispered painfully at the end. Naruto looked at her and frowned. Tell me, perhaps I can help, said Naruto softly. Hinata flushed more and tucked her head lower. He says I am a disgrace to my clan. I am not strong enough, she whispered painfully. She felt Naruto tense around her. That is horrible. He's your father, whispered Naruto in disgust. Hinata shivered slightly. This time not from the cold. Years of insecurity meant she was scared Naruto was angry with her. Naruto sensed what she was thinking and growled. Sorry, she whispered, but Naruto cut her off. You have nothing to be sorry for, it's your father, growled Naruto. Hinata shook her head. He isn't lying, Naruto. I have not once beat my sister in the spar, said Hinata, as if she was the weakest being alive. Hinata, do you love your sister? Asked Naruto simply. Hinata nodded, her eyes wide. Of course, she whispered. Naruto smiled at her, his calming aura seemed to be twice as effective being so close. Hinata realized his eyes had returned to their new silver, instead of the red swirls. Then you are not weak. Weakness is beating your sister mercilessly, love is strength, said Naruto softly. Hinata blinked slightly. Yes, but I can't even fight for what I love, I am too weak, said Hinata sadly once more. Naruto stood and rubbed a hand over his face. Hinata, my trainer once told me, to be a hero is to fight for everyone. But a hero makes mistakes and can be tainted by either side, good and evil. To be truly strong, one must fight to protect, fight for love and what you love, said Naruto strongly. Hinata blinked in shock. I just feel weak, I am burdened to everyone, said Hinata. Naruto blinked slightly. No, I'm sure you will never be a burden, Hinata-kun, said Naruto softly. Hinata looked up at Naruto, his easy smile, the blush tinting his cheeks. His eyes were silver, the red ripple pattern gone, silver much like the moon framing him. Thank you, Naruto-kun, said Hinata. Just the being with Naruto was causing her heart to beat double time, and now he was talking to her kindly. Naruto held out a hand for her to stand. When she stood, she was surprised to be pulled into a hug by Naruto. Her vision flickered slightly. Thank you, Hinata-kun. You are so kind to me. You are the first person my age to ever actually and honestly care, said Naruto softly. Hinata shakily wrapped her arms around him, a blush rising quickly. Thank you for listening to me, Naruto-kun, she whispered, and Naruto blushed slightly, their first hug together under the stars. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.